All right, our seventh lesson of the chapter. It is on multiplying and dividing fractions. So just like yesterday, the first page is going to be, or the first part of the lesson is going to be just on how to multiply and divide fractions, like as a review. And then we're going to apply it to positive and negative numbers. So our learning target is that we can multiply and divide using fractions. Pretty common sense. And let's show you how to multiply. So to multiply fractions, you first multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's say I have the fraction, I don't know, 2/3. And I want to multiply that by 4/5. You just multiply the numerators straight across and the denominators straight across. So 2 times 4 is 8. And 3 times 5 is 15. So really simple. You just go 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. And then simplify if you need to. I'm going to do it with algebra. I have A over B, they can stand for any number, times C over D, and we get AC, or A times C, over B times D. Because that's the rule. You just multiply straight across to get the new numerator, and straight across the bottom to get the new denominator. Let's do a couple examples. So number 1 is pretty basic. Well, 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And that's all we have to do. The only thing is 3 over 12 can be simplified to 1/4. Okay. I'm going to sneak some exponents in there. So 2/3 to the second power is equal to 2/3 times 2/3. The rule is going to be the same. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So 2/3 to the second power is equal to 4/9. So again, just expand it out and multiply. So when you're doing an exponent, just expand it out however many times you need to, and then multiply straight across. Okay, we have a fraction multiplied by a whole number, but notice how one of them is negative. I'm going to rewrite this as -2. I'm putting it on the top over 3 times 15. And we need to turn that into a fraction, so we put a 1 on the bottom. -2 times 15 is -30. 3 times 1 is 3. And so this becomes -30 over 3. However, that can be simplified to -10 over 1, which is also just -10. Okay. And it's negative because we add a positive, or a positive times a negative. The signs are different, leaving the answer negative. Okay, number 4. We just multiply straight across, but be careful because we have a negative times a negative, so that means our answer is positive. 5 times 9 is 45. 6 times 10 is 60. So this becomes 45 over 60. That can be simplified. 15 goes into both the numerator and the denominator. And it simplifies down to 3 over 4. And again, it's positive because both signs were negative, and when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. All right, that's the first part of the lesson. On to part number 2, dividing. Before we can do dividing, we need to talk about what the word reciprocal is. And a reciprocal is any two numbers with the product of 1. So we have this example of 3/4. The reciprocal of 3/4 is 4 over 3. Okay, so a lot of people, when they see reciprocal, they think just flip the fraction upside down. The reason why the definition is when you multiply, you get 1. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. And that simplifies to 1. I'll do another example here. I'll do a kind of a confusing one. So let's say I have 1/5. Well, the reciprocal of that is going to be 5 over 1, which is also just 5. If you multiplied those two numbers by itself, you would get 5 over 5, which is equal to 1. Okay, so let's write the reciprocals. So find the reciprocal of each number. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2. Notice that we're just flipping it upside down. The reciprocal of 7/8 is 8 over 7. The reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 over 1, but that simplifies to 4, because you don't need to put the 1 on the bottom. Now we have a whole number. To find the reciprocal of a whole number, you write a 1 on the bottom, and then you flip it, 1 over 6. So, not that I think it's difficult to find the reciprocals, but you need them when you're dividing fractions. On to the next page. Okay, so let's zoom in on our rule. To divide a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. So you might have seen this before, where you keep the first one, you change divide to multiply, and you flip the second fraction, meaning you get the reciprocal of the second fraction. So it goes like this. Keep the first fraction, we have 1/2. Change divide to multiply, and do the reciprocal or flip the second fraction, 3/2. And then you just multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 4, this equals 3 over 4. Likewise here, we have algebra. We have a over b, we keep it. We change divide to multiply, and c over d becomes d over c. And then you multiply straight across, and you get AD, or A times D, over B times C. Reciprocal. Multiply by it. Don't go flipping the first one, though. Sometimes people are making that mistake. All right, a couple examples. We have 1/8 divided by 3/4. Well, let's change the problem to a multiplication. 1/8 multiplied by 4/3. Multiply straight across. 1 times 4 is 4. 8 times 3 is 24. And that could be simplified to 1/6, because you can divide both the numerator and denominator by 4. Okay. Number 2. We have 1/2 divided by 3. Remember, you can put a 1 on the bottom. So it's 1/2 keep. Change flip. Change multiply to times, and change 3 over 1 to 1 over 3. Multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6, so this becomes 1/6. So 1/2 divided by 3 is 1/6. Okay, number 3, let's pay attention to our integer signs. So we have -3. We keep the first one, remember. Change that to multiply and flip the second one. So we keep -3, but I'm going to write -3 over 1. Change divide to multiply, and then 1 over 2 becomes 2 over 1. -3 times 2 is -6, because the signs are different. 1 times 1 is 1, but we can just simplify that down to regular old -6. Last one. Notice we have negative times negative. This answer is going to be positive. We have -3/4, keep. Change divide to multiply, and then flip the next fraction. You're keeping the signs though, so this becomes 8 over 1, but it's negative. And notice how I like to put the negatives with the top number. It's just a habit I have. -3 times -8 is -24. 4 times 1 is 4. Sorry, I said -24. It's actually positive because the two negatives make a positive. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Or 24 over 4 reduces to 6 over 1, which becomes 6. All right, that's your lesson for the day. So it's just basically a fraction review, but I'm throwing the negative numbers in there. So please ask any questions that you may have, and then I'll be sure to help you, all right? Okay, see you, bye.